This is Laricy Live, and I'm your host, Matt Laricy. We're giving you unfiltered access to the world of real estate, where we can cover the market trends, news, and honest answers to keep you ahead of the real estate game. Laricy Live is brought to you by Lincoln Title. Lincoln Title is the best and most efficient title company in Chicago and is the best place to close your property. This podcast is brought to you by Titan Builders. Titan Builders have been remodeling condos and homes in the Chicagoland area for over 35 years. Whether it's remodeling your kitchen or bathroom or getting your home ready for sale, Mike and Mark are your go-to guys. Laricy Live is brought to you by Guaranteed Rate and Ben Cohen. Ben Cohen is the #1 lender in Illinois and can close your loan in as fast as 8 days. So today we are here talking about a little thing called spring break, right? I put this in one of my newsletters, but every time I think of spring break, I think of the 90s and I think of MTV on the beach, people having fun, hanging out. For anybody that's old enough to remember, I mean, this was like what you'd do with your friends when you're younger. You would literally turn on the TV, watch people on a beach, and they would do different things. This is when people actually like sung songs though on TV, like, and people would watch it because there's no like YouTube or anything like that. But that's what I think about when I'm thinking about spring break here. And when we're talking about spring break, we got to address the market, right? Because it's not all beaches and beach balls and beer bong and whatever you kids are doing these days. I don't know what these kids are on their tickety-tocks, what they're hanging out with. I'm an oldie man. I just turned 41, right? Just turned that. So I don't know what the kids are doing these days for spring break. But what I can tell you is that spring break has an impact on the market. Believe it or not, guys, everything, and I mean everything, has an impact on the real estate market. And, what I wanted to address today is just kind of what we see. Like, what do you see pre-spring break compared to post-spring break? Like, what's the difference? And when I tell people is like, before spring break, inventory is very slim. Bids are insane, like batshit crazy insane. Like, oh my God, they just paid what? No, I don't believe it. And then it posts like, wow. And then post-spring break, it's like, okay, it's hot. It's not like batshit hot. It's like really hot. It's just like, it's like if we were, what was that? Spinal Tap. If these speakers were at 11, look at all these references, right? If these speakers are at 11, we'd be bumping this down to like 9. That's what happens. It's at like 11 pre-spring break, and then like post-spring break, it's at a 9. It's hot. I'm not saying it ain't hot. So somebody's out there's like, no, dude, I'm still super busy. Yeah, you're super busy. I get it. You were at 11. Now you're still at 9. We're not in October when the speaker's back down to 3 or something like that. We're hanging out at a 9. Reason-wise, I've talked about this all the time. We're on tied to the rental cycles, end of March, April, May, first part of June. Leases come due. You have the lowest amount of inventory in the first 3 months of the year, and you have the highest demand. So if you have excess demand, low supply, prices go crazy, etc. Post-spring break, we see more inventory hit the market, okay? So like there's certain waves that we see inventory hit. We see a decent wave of inventory hit after January 2nd. Then we see a good wave of inventory hit after the Super Bowl. And if anybody watched or watches these or even pays attention, after the Super Bowl, I said you see a lot, but I said, but wait, the real big wave hits after spring break. And that's where we're at right now. We're hitting that real big wave. You got to ride that thing. That's why I call this a spring wave. There's a lot of waves that go on around here, okay? And we are in the heart, and inside spring wave is what we call prime time, which is we're in prime time, just like really peaks right now. And post spring break is when we're going to start seeing a lot of inventory hit the market. So why is this? Why do a lot of people say, wait till after spring break to list? There's a few reasons. Number one, boomer sellers, boomer mentalities, okay? Now, you're going to be like, hey, Matt, the average person selling downtown is no boomer. I say it's just a boomer mentality. Okay, it's the fact that like we still have this old world thinking, right? It's like we're back in the medieval days. Like we have to think about like, well, back in the day, this is how it was done. And a lot of people think, well, back in the day, you would never list before spring. You list in the spring. That's just what people think. They're like, you just list in the spring. How many sellers I have that's like, well, the trees aren't in bloom and the weather's been cold, so of course there can't be any buyers out there looking. I want to list after when spring starts. That's when I'll list. So that's a number one reason why a lot of people don't list in the first 3 months because of the weather. I cannot tell you. And as a guy that's been on more listing appointments and have more listings than I can count, the main thing when I sit down with people is like, well, I want to wait because it's, it's not springtime yet. We're talking about the, with the weather-wise. So a lot of these guys don't list till the weather gets nicer. And what I try to do when I sit down with people, I say, listen, the way you're talking right now is how everybody talks. So if you list first, you win, okay? But this is why we're going to see a lot of inventory hit after spring break because the weather gets nicer, the sun's shining. I mean, today the sun is shining. It was pouring earlier today, but like now the sun's shining. People are like, they get more motivated, so they want to sell. Second reason, okay? Specifically why we see more 3 beds and single families homes hit. Kids, these little things are called children, I got 4 of these things, you got any of these? You got a little these little things? These guys run around the house. They're like little people. They have personalities. They're cute. Sometimes they make you want to drink. Sometimes kids test your patience. I always tell people, you got patience. You want to know what patience is like? Have a kid. Tell me you want to talk about patience, some days you just want to flip the table over, Paint the house. Kid takes like a bunch of jelly in their hands, puts their hand on the wall. It's like, oh, I didn't know I need to wash my hands. Like, oh yeah, no problem. We'll just live with that handprint for the rest of our lives. No problem. Or we'll just repaint the wall. Money doesn't matter when you got kids, right? It's constantly just going like this. But for people that have these little things running around the house that we refer to as children, and listen, I love my kids. I'm sure everybody out here loves the kids. I'm just joking around, okay? For anybody out there that says I'm just having fun with it. You got to have fun if you have these kids because sometimes, like I said, they drive you crazy a little bit. The 1% they drive you crazy, the 99% of the time you love them to death, But my point is that people with kids, you can't list because they're tied. They're handcuffed. They're handcuffed to the school cycle. They're handcuffed to childcare. They're handcuffed to maybe they got like a great nanny, and they just can't move till June. So a lot of people, and this is specifically 3-bedroom single-family homes, they all want to list in February, but they're like, well, what am I going to do if I sell? You're like, hey, they're like, Matt, if you're telling me that if I list February 1st, I'm going to sell February 2nd. I'm like, yeah. They're like, great, that's awesome. And I'm like, I'm going to get you the most money. They're like, awesome, I love money. But guess what? I'm like, what? They're like money's great, but like I got kids. I'm like, yeah, I know. And they're like, what am I gonna do with my kids? I'm like, oh, you can find temporary housing. Like, yeah, I got kids. Like, I'm not gonna go live temporary housing with my kids. Like, it doesn't work like that. So like, for like 2-bedroom and stuff like that, people could do temporary housing. You got kids, 1, 2, 3. I mean, like I said, I got 4. You ain't temporary housing it. Like, and it's, don't get me wrong. Like they may say, hey, 50,000 is awesome. Like I love 50,000. I love the extra 100,000 you say you get me. But like, what's worse is spending 20,000 on temporary housing with 4 kids in a 1-bedroom condo. Like that's, to me, I just won't make it mentally, So what a lot of people say is like, I need to wait a little bit longer to be able to sell till, my kids are out of school and my daycare situation taken up, or like I have time to be able to tell my nanny. And let's kind of target talking after spring break to list. Cause then like if we list in like mid-April and we do like a 60-day close, right? So if we list like April 10th, May 10th, June 10th, kids out of school, right? So that works out better. So all my clients in the front part of the year are like, there's no 3 bedrooms, blah, blah, blah. And then my clients that do end up buying a 3-bedroom, they're like, Matt, I don't understand. In October, that same 3-bedroom closed for $75,000 or less. And you're telling me I got to pay more? It's like, yeah, in October, there's no buyers for 3 bedrooms. There's just literally no market, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but there's no market. And now there is a market because there's no inventory. Okay, none, zero, zip, zilch. Okay? So like my point is that like, when you look, of why this is, the kids have a lot to do with it. So after spring break, what was once an elusive unicorn, all of a sudden they start pouring in the marketplace more, okay? And at the same time that these 3 bedrooms start kind of pouring into the marketplace, which is what my next week's podcast can talk about, is you're going to lose a quarter of the demand after spring break because people decided to, they had to make a decision to, rent or they buy. And a lot of people are on these leases. So all of a sudden you get more 3-bedrooms hitting the market and you get demand start to kind of dwindle down. And guess what? Batshit crazy doesn't look so batshit crazy anymore. So when people ask me, what's it like pre-spring break to post-spring break? It's like, well, we were at 11, now we're at 9. So we're still good. It's still crazy. It's just not batshit crazy. Okay. And that's why, and another reason why is that for people with kids, not only can they not sell because they're handcuffed to their children and kind of what's happening, with daycare and things of that nature, but they're also handcuffed to the fact that they don't have anywhere to go. Where are they going to go if they sell? I would say that probably 75 to 80%, I'd probably say 80% plus of my sellers selling 3 bedrooms, okay, they are moving to the suburbs or out of state, to a suburb out of state. Okay, like Michigan or Ohio or one of those, what are those states? Iowa or something? Is that a state? Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I know somebody from is like, I'm in Iowa, I get it. My point is they're moving to some suburb, and there is nothing on the market in the suburbs in January, February, March. Let's back it up, because again, somebody's gonna be like, "Wow, Matt, I saw 5 houses on the market in January, February." Like overall, there's not a ton of options in the suburbs in the first 3 months of the year. So these people with the kids who don't want to pull their kids out of school that need to move to the suburbs, at the same time, not only do they want to sell because they can't because of what's happening with their children's lives, but they also don't have anywhere to go. So they're kind of in this like in-between area that like the people who can't afford to buy before they sell. Okay, so like now if you're like, hey, Matt, I'm super rich, I could buy a place, I'll sell whenever I want to. Great. Like that's probably 50% of the people. But for the other 50%, they need to find and identify a place and then buy that, and then they could sell, or at least see that they have options so that when they do sell, that they could buy up. Now you can do things like lease backs and things of that nature, and I'm not going to get into the weeds too much. I'm just going to say that like at the end of the day, one of the main reasons why we don't see as much inventory is because of that. Okay. At the same time, let's take away the single families and big 3 bedrooms. Okay, because like and a lot of times like the single families, it's like those like $1 to $2 million ones are always the lowest. Like above 2.5, like I'm not saying inventory is good, but at least you got some options. But that $1 to $2 million inventory right now is like beyond thin. It's like super thin. It's like paper thin. Like there's just absolutely nothing on. So, and that's again because they need to move out. At the same time, like 2 bedrooms are like there's like a lot of them going on. Now again, things are getting crazy. They're still going nuts. But I'd say like 2 bedrooms today compared to 2 bedrooms in like, end of January is like a different world. It's literally like a different world. Meaning that like we were at 11, now we're at a 9. And I think we'll be at like a 8 by like end of April for 2 bedrooms. Because there's more coming on. So like my clients are like, I haven't seen a 2 bedroom in forever, blah, blah, blah. It's like now they're like, honestly, it's almost annoying how many are coming on. Because like we went from like showing like we'd see like once and show you like 2, and now we're seeing like 10 times in a week. And because people are like, people have to rush to see it like same day. Like, hey, this came on. Can I get in the next hour? That's every client I have. Hey, this came on. Can I see this next hour? And like it's hard because like you can't always get into a place in an hour. And I do have a great structure we could do it, but like it's hard because and I don't knock these people because when things are selling that quick, like you need to move that quick. But like now it's like before, like you would do that once a week with somebody. Now you're doing it, 7, 8, 9 times a week. We'll be out with like the same client like 4 different times in a day within an hour's notice because something hits. And like that's kind of where 2 bedrooms are. And by the end of May, it's like 2 bedrooms are really, you're going to really see a big difference in the 2-bedroom market by the end of May. Really. And so again, when we talk about post-spring break to pre-spring break to post-spring break, is that like 2 bedrooms are like, this is like the last hurrah for 2 beds. And listen, I'm not saying don't sell in October, November and stuff like that. I'm just saying like you just don't see the pricing. You don't see the 50 offers. You don't see the line around the corner that we're standing in line. And there's literally, I don't know if anybody's seen this, but there's now a business that's brought up where people are like literally, it's kind of like when you go to a ball game and people are like serving hot dogs and you get to buy them. That's what they're doing at these open houses now. You see people coming out with the hot dog carts, and there's concession stands now as you pull up to these places. I'm just kidding, but that's a good idea, It's not a bad idea to think about, I just thought about that right now. Look at that, huh? Like we like pay one of our guys to go out there and like, hand them out to people. Yeah, you happy with your agent? Here's a hot dog. Will you be willing to leave your agent for a hot dog? I don't know about you, but the hot dogs I like the most are the ones when they're wrapped in tin foil because like the little side, but like those are the best. Steamed a little bit. Hand them one of those. Be like, hey, you happy with your agent? Have a hot dog. But you're not seeing those lines anymore. Like you're just not seeing them. You're still seeing the lines, but the lines are going to start dying down further and further we get post spring break. Let's see here. What are my spring break plans? You're looking at them right here. My kids are on spring break right now. Look at this. I'm chugging some coffee here. Hanging out with Bobby. We're getting wild. We're getting wild on spring break. Going to the beach. Gonna hang out in the sun. I used to do a spring break every year. Every year I used to go to spring break. My first 4 years in the business. Well, not 4 years in business. It was probably my middle section, like my 5th year in the business to my 7th or 8th year. So when I was getting successful and not successful, so kind of coming up through the ranks, but not at the top. And as my second or third year I took it, I was so busy that I didn't even have fun. We went to France one year on spring break for my birthday. It was I think it was my 30th birthday or something. And I was just it was not fun. Just because I was on the phone the whole time. I was I'm never going away on spring break again. And that was it. I never did it again. So now I have a rule that I literally work from December 26th till December 26th to July 2nd, straight through, without a day off. And then July 2nd to the 6th, I go to Napa. So that's my first day off. So my spring break plans are work hard. Spring break is actually super busy for us. So I just don't enjoy. I hate going away when we're really busy. July 4th is a super slow weekend. Super slow, But, yeah, so that's how crazy we're going to get. My kids are in a Nerf gun camp. This is my oldest, He's having fun. Yeah, that's my life. My wife's a rock star. She takes him around. I don't know. I come home and she tells him what happens. So makes me sound like a jerk. But, I am a jerk. When's the best time to list a 3-bedroom in an ideal world? If money doesn't matter, it would be before spring break. Again, you got to live your life. And, ultimately, you can't sacrifice your family if it's, you don't have, things to go to or somewhere to move to. So, technically speaking, you get the most money. But then your second best time would be, right after spring break. So beat the wave. The big thing is that a lot of people wait till after Memorial Day, and they just don't get their stuff together in time. So, we as Americans are always a day late and dollar short, so they don't list till after Memorial Day, and then they really miss the marketplace. How far are people going over asking today compared to post-spring break? Right now, money doesn't matter, comps don't matter. People are just giving whatever. After spring break, you're going to start seeing people not go as far because they don't have more options. When you have more options, you're not willing to pull all the stops. If you haven't seen a 3-bedroom in a month and one comes up, you'll give $100,000 over ask price. I'll give a shout out. I know one of my clients watches these. I had a client give $90,000 over ask price, sight unseen, never been in the complex. They weren't allowing showings. He really liked the complex. They wouldn't listen. So he's just I'll go 90,000 in over ask price. I'll waive my finance contingency. I'll take it as is. He did all 3 of those. Well, they did. There's a couple. They did all 3 of those without seeing it, never being in the complex, and got it. Now, they did an inspection and liked it and want to move forward, and they're happy they did. But, I don't see somebody going 90,000 over ask price and waiving everything after spring break as much. The first month, but once we hit May, you'll never see that. You just don't see that again. It doesn't happen. How are 3 beds doing downtown pre-spring break and post-spring break? I mean, it's a ghost town. It's like dust balls. I mean, there's so much pressure on these downtown 3-bedrooms. There's just so much pressure. Everybody's mad. Every seller I have that has a 3-bedroom is just mad. They hate me. Just hate they see me. And so I do a minimum of 3 touches a week with my sellers and a maximum of 5 touches. So there's no I'm a big don't tell me, show me type of guy. So don't tell me you're trying to sell, show me. Don't tell me you're trying to sell my property. Show me you're trying to sell my property. So I show everything you're doing. And when I send them, I can feel from the other side. I just know that they're just I hate this guy. It's tough. I mean, when you got a place in River North and you got a 3-bedroom and it's 125, and you paid 1.5 for it. So you come on, you're 125 in River North, 3-bedroom. You paid 1.5. You come on 125, and you get no showings. And then your friend's got a duplex down in Lincoln Park. They come on at 125. They paid $800 for it 18 months ago. So they pay $800,000 for it 18 months ago. And they come on at 125 in Lincoln Park and sells for 1.4. And then you're out to dinner with that couple, and you're wait, you guys got 1.4 first day on the market, and you paid $800,000 18 months ago, and we paid 1.5 for it 3 years ago, and we're on the market at 1.25. We haven't had a showing in a month. Our agent sucks. Just what people say. It's just what it is. And I'm the agent that's got it, So, I get it. And I tell people, it's listen, I have those listings in Lincoln Park, and we're getting the same thing. But there's no demand downtown. It's getting better. I did a podcast a little bit ago, how the Phoenix is rise from ashes, and I do think cities are getting better. And we are seeing, the ultra high-end inventory get sales. And we are seeing things move. To be honest with you, the things we're seeing mostly move right now are people are just, giving stuff away. It's really what it is. It's there's a building across the street that there hasn't really been a sale there in a year. And then in the last maybe month, there's been 3 sales. And all 3 sales are legitimately $300,000 to $400,000 less than what they paid for it in a very short period ago. And it's that. It's the market's resetting downtown. And I think the sellers who aren't willing to reset their prices down to a drastically different price point, they're just going to sit. And it's tough because I look at the comps, I'm well, I think we're priced really well. And then you look at the fact that none of them are selling, and then you see the ones that do sell are just people are dropping their pants. And like that's the difference in the tale of two cities, which we discussed last week, is that like it's just crazy. But my hope, I don't have any data behind this. This is more of a hope. So I can't tell you this is most stuff I talk to you guys about on here is based off factual knowledge, okay? And like real trends I'm seeing, not bullshit. Like real trends, like here's where it's going to go, and I'm usually right on this. So let's stress that this is a hope. But my hope is after spring break, we see more empty nesters come back downtown, enjoy the city, want to buy a place again. We need more and more of those going. I have seen more empty nesters in the past, since January than I had in the past 4 years. I have done that. My hope is that more keep coming. I don't know if they will. I don't, but we do have an office in downtown Hinsdale now, and we are seeing more of our clientele there move here for places, but like it's not how it was where it's just like, on the reg. Will that market ever come back? Yeah, it will. We talked about this. I'm not gonna go into a fact of an hour-long podcast I just talked about, but my point is I think it will. It's just that if you're a seller today, post spring break, and you got something downtown, just know that like it's you're in for the long haul. You can't compare yours to Westtown or Wicker Park or Lakeview. It's a different market. What do I expect to see happen the rest of spring break? Post spring break, in the April May markets. I think it's gonna be crazy. I do. I don't think it's gonna be like pre-spring break crazy, but like I said, compared to like a 9 out of 10, okay? It's going to be really good. And then once we hit June 1st, that summer shift's going to hit. I think that 9's going to drop down to a 6.5 to a 7. And that's when we're going to start seeing people separate from each other. And that's when agents start to get a little bit burnt out because they feel overworked. And then all of a sudden you start seeing, the cream rise to the crop. No, wait. It's like George Bush, that one, right? What was he thinking? It's like fool me something. Like, yeah, I'm not even going back to that saying, okay? But like that's when you start seeing the winners win. We'll put it easier, right? Just change up that one completely. That's when you start seeing that happen. But like it is a different market. But I do think that the next 60 days, the market's going to continue to be extremely strong. And next week I'm going to get really in detail about, what's going on with these people who got to sign these leases, because that's a very, very big one to watch. So that's all I got for you guys this week. Thanks for listening to Laricy Live.